Well, good evening. I'm going to try to keep this short. This is lesson 5.8, and we're going to be talking about solving equations once again. This time, instead of adding and subtracting, the equations we're going to be solving are going to involve multiplication and division. And remember, right off the bat before we get started, remember that multiplication and division are opposites of each other. However, we are going to be using what we know about dividing fractions while we do this lesson. So let's get right into it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some problems. Okay, all of these equations all involve fractions and multiplication. And so in each case, we are going to be solving these equations to get the variable by itself. Okay, now, in the first one, we have 8 times x. So the opposite of timesing by 8 is dividing by 8. However, when we're dealing with fractions, the way we're going to divide by 8 is we're going to multiply by 1 over 8. Okay, it doesn't really matter on the left side, but on the right side, multiplying by 1/8 is going to make a lot more sense than putting divided by 8. We don't want complex fractions. The initial 8 is going to be treated like 8 over 1, so of course things are going to fruit ninja cancel like normal, and I get x on the left. And over on the right, I look for anything that cancels. Nothing does in this case, but it's no big deal. You get 5 over 56. Okay, and that is the answer. We're done. That's all there is to it. So the next question is kind of the same idea. We're going to multiply both sides by half. And this time, the 1/2 and the 2 will cancel out, leaving us with y. And the fraction will be 7 times 1 on the top over 18. And again, that doesn't reduce, so we're totally done. The final equation here, we have fractions on both sides. Okay, now, to get rid of a fraction, yes, we're multiplying by 2/9, so we could divide by 2/9. Well, think about how is it we divide by fractions. Well, we flip and we multiply, don't we? So let's multiply both sides of the equation by 9 over 2. We're just going to take the thing that's with the variable, in this case 2/9, and flip it upside down. It's called the reciprocal, and we're going to multiply it on both sides. Make sure that looks like a 9, not an A. Sure enough, on this side, the 2's and the 9's cancel out, so it's like a double fruit ninja. As always, I get t on the left. And on the right, I look for anything that cancels. Nothing does. Be careful, I was a little sloppy with that 9. That's 5 times 9 on the top, which is 45. Divided by 6 times 2, which is 12. And 12 goes into 45 almost 4 times. It'll be 3 times 12 is 36, which will give me a remainder of 9. So I get 3 and 9/12, which reduces one more time. Take a 3 out, you get 3 and 3/4. Okay? And that really is all there is to solving. So what we're going to do when we're solving equations that have fractions involving multiplication and division is we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal. And all the reciprocal is a fancy name for a fraction flipped upside down. It's reciprocal. Okay, and actually technically those first examples, 1/8 is the reciprocal of 8, and 1/2 is the reciprocal of 2. Okay? Alright, so what we're going to do next, let me give you 3 more equations, very similar to the ones we just did, and I'd like you to go ahead and pause the video and do these 3 equations on your own. When you have, you're going to need to actually copy down the original equations because that's how you show your work. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to unpause the video and see if you do it the same way that we did. So pause the video now. Solve these 3 equations, showing all your work, please. Alright, now if you did what you were supposed to do, if you didn't, please pause now and do it. Okay, what you should have done on the top one is you want to get rid of 3/4, so we're going to multiply by 4/3 on the left, so we have to multiply by 4/3 on the right. On the left, we get a nice, neat cancellation. The 3's and the 4's cancel out, leaving me just s. On the right, it looks like we get some canceling. We've got 8 and 4 and 9 and 3. Unfortunately, the numbers that would cancel are both side to side. You cannot cancel on the tops or the bottoms. So this we'll just have to go ahead and do. It's going to be 32 over 27. And we do need to reduce that to a mixed number. That'll be 1 and 5/27. So that's what you should have gotten. Okay, do make sure you reduce your answer to lowest forms. Okay, the next one, we're going to start over here on the right because that's where the variable is. And this time we're going to multiply by 5/4. Again, why? Because it's the reciprocal of what's with the variable. Multiply the other side by 5/4, and what we're going to get, it's a little hard to see, but the 5's cancel, the 4's cancel, and on the right we get D. On the left we get 25 on the top, we get 16 on the bottom. Again, it looked like it was going to cancel, but it ends up not canceling. That does need to be reduced. I'm going to actually put the reducing over here on the right. 16 goes into 25 once, with a remainder of, once again, 9. So it's 1 and 9. The denominator doesn't change, so it's 9/16. Okay? Finally, the last one, I seem to be missing a variable there. I do apologize for that. So if that one was kind of confusing to you, that is correct. There was supposed to be an R right there, and I think my stylus didn't work. So my apologies. Go ahead and pause again, and you can go ahead and solve this one. That's the side you were supposed to solve. So pause one more time. All right, so you should have gone ahead and solved this last one. My apologies for missing that R. So let's go ahead and multiply both sides by the flip of what's with the R. Now, the R is times a negative 6/7, so we're going to get rid of the negative and the fraction at the same time. We're going to multiply by negative 7/6 over here on the left, which means over here on the right we also have to multiply by negative 7/6. Okay, on the left, the negatives cancel out, the 6's cancel out, the 7's cancel out. Everything works perfectly, and we get R. On the right, we do finally get to cancel. 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3, so take a 3 out, we get 1 and we get 2, which means that on the top I now get negative 7, and on the bottom I get 8, and also for a change, this one does not need to be reduced. That is the final answer, negative 7/8. All right, so that is how we're going to solve these equations. As always, notice that I am showing all my work starting by copying the original equations. The last thing we need to talk about is mixed numbers. And for mixed numbers, we're going to treat them the same way we did when we multiplied and divided. We're going to change them into improper fractions. Okay? So we're going to do that first, and then we are going to go ahead and solve the equation. So in this first one, 3 and 1/2 n, we're going to change that to 7/2 n equals 28. Let's go ahead and whole numbers we're going to make over 1. Okay, so we're going to make everything into a fraction, and now we solve just exactly the way we just did a second ago. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction that is with the variable. So in this case, we multiply both sides by 2/7. Everything cancels beautifully. On this side, we get h equals, and on this side, before I multiply, look at the 7 and the 28. They are both divisible by 7, so this is 1 and 4. And on the top, I get 8. On the bottom, I get 1. So the answer here is just 8. Now let's check that for a second. Does it make sense that 3.5 times 8 would equal 24? Well, think about it. What's 3 times 8? Well, 3 times 8 is 24. And then 1/2 of 8 would be another 4 to add on. So of course it checks. It checks perfectly. Okay, so what we're doing is making perfect sense. The bottom one, I'll go ahead and do that one for you. We're going to change the original equation first. Negative 720 is fine. It is already a fraction, but we need to change 1 and 1/6 into 7/6 times r. We're going to multiply both sides by 6/7. Okay, and once you get used to solving equations, and by now, at this point in the course, you all should be used to solving equations, this is not something that should be very laborious. You should be able to whiz through several of these problems, still being very neat and showing all your work. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to switch colors one more time. I see a 7 and a 7 that cancel out. Don't forget about the negative, so I'm going to put the negative right there so I don't forget about it. And I also see a 6 and a 20. They're both even, so let's take the 2 out. We get 3 and 10. This is going to be a -1 up here, and this is going to be a 1 down here. So on the top, I get -3. I already put the negative in, so it's just 3 over 10. And that didn't come out very pretty, so let me back that up just a little bit. All right, let's fix this. All right, so we're going to get -3 tenths, and I don't like using this diagonal fraction bar, but every once in a while in a pinch, it does come in handy when we're trying to squeeze something in. So r equals -3 tenths, and again, that makes sense. You started out with 1 and 1/6, something a little bigger than 1. You took 3/10 of it, and you ended up with something a little smaller than 1/2. So that's in the right ballpark just by doing estimation. Okay, so that, let's keep this under 10 minutes. That is, I think, everything you need to know to get you started with multiplying and dividing, solving equations that involve multiplication and division by both fractions and mixed numbers. So thank you for watching. Okay, make sure that you really focused on what we just did and be ready for your daily quiz and for the practice problems that we'll do in class tomorrow. All right, we'll see you in class.